You're watching Talking About Orcs. In this episode of Talking About Orcs, we're going to be going over the Gretchen, or Grots for short. The Grots are the weedy part of the Orc society, smaller than Orcs, and are used as slaves, footstools, whatever the Orcs want. Grots in the game are incredibly cheap, very fragile, and their usefulness is hit or miss. So let's go over the basic stats of a Grot. Gretchen are weapon skill 2, ballistic skill 3. Now, dwell on that for a little bit. The Gretchen are ballistic skill 3. That was one of the big changes in the new codex, was giving Gretchen that +1 ballistic skill, making them at least somewhat useful. Strength 2, toughness 2, 1 wound, 2 initiative 2, attack 1, 5 leadership, and no save. These, for an amazing 3 points per model, they are equipped with a Grot Blasta, which is essentially a las pistol. They can go in units from 10 to 30, and for every whole 10 you need to take a Runt Herd, which is an additional 10 points. So up to 19 needs 1, up to 29 needs 2, and 30 needs 3. The Runt Herd is just a boy, basically, an Orc boy, with leadership 7. So with the Runt Herd, you've got leadership 7 mob instead of 5. And the Runt Herd is equipped with a Grot Prod, a Grab-a-Stick, and a Squig Hound. The Grab-a-Stick is actually useful. It reduces the attacks of an enemy model in base to base with the Runt Herd by 1. Or you can give for 5 points, you can give the Runt Herd a Grot Prod, which is a 4+ poisoned weapon. The Squig Hound rule allows you to remove D3 Gretchen to reroll a failed morale test, so it's very similar to a boss poll. And of course, Gretchen are still useful for removing mines, which might be good in Planet Strike, but in most normal games they're just not. That rule just really doesn't apply. I don't even know why they bothered. So what are Grots good for? Grots are good for 2 things: holding objectives and cover saves. You can still do the Grot screen with the new intervening unit rules. If you keep them right in front of the boys, they will give you a nice 4+ cover save to any unit behind them. But again, why would you want to when you can just take boys instead and have a sacrificial unit of boys instead of a sacrificial unit of Grots? The one thing the Grots do better than boys is, of course, is shoot. And if you have a large number of Grots close enough to a target, you can put out those strength 3 shots at BS3. So they're not that bad at shooting. And you know, I've actually taken Grots only a few times, kind of a filler, an objective holding filler. And of course, both times I've taken them as objective holders, I've been playing Annihilation, and they really suck at Annihilation because they're just fragile as all get out. But one of the games, they actually were shooting and killed 2 Terminators with their shooting, which is a cause for celebration right there, because that was basically paid for their points from that one volley of fire. The Runt Herds, with their poison weapons or Grab-a-Sticks, can actually be good for tar pitting. Something like a Carnifex, you can get all 2 or 3 Runt Herds in base to base, and the Carnifex will lose 2 of its attacks or 3 of its attacks, so it'll only be killing 1 Gretchen per turn, and you'll have to take a leadership check, of course. But with the reroll of the Squig Hound, it should be around for a little while, so it would be a good way to tar pit a big monstrous creature with those Grab-a-Sticks, or if you want to even try and kill it with a Grot Prod. With the poison weapons, that's not beyond the realm of possibilities either. But that's about it. That's about as useful as they go. I'm not a big fan of Grots. There are people out there that are big fans of Grots and will always run them. Personally, I'd rather just run a smaller unit of boys than a larger unit of Gretchen. I mean, Gretchen probably need to be even cheaper than 3 points each. If they were 2 points each, I'd probably run them a little more often. But at 3 points each, for every 2 Gretchen, you can have 1 boy, which is, 10 times better. But you can try them. I mean, not to mention the new Grot box, the box of Grots for $15, where you get 10 Grots and a runt herd, is an amazing deal. The models are superb. This is my runt herd from the box. Of course, this is my old metal runt herd. I've had around forever. And you probably can't see very well. Get a little more light on the subject here. But the models are just great. They do have some options. You know, they have some separate heads. One guy has separate arms, so you can make the Grots a little more customizable, a little more unique than just the old metal models. But still, for that deal, you know, 11 models for $15 from GW is a great deal. They're really easy to paint, and they're really fun to paint. You can do a lot of different techniques on them. They're good for practice. So, you know, you buy a box of Grots. A box of Grots fielded is 40 points. So that's 40 points for $15, 11 models. Give them a try. I mean, you might like them. They might sit on an objective and win a game for you. Who knows? But I'm not a big fan. So that just about wraps up my Grots video. There's not a lot to talk about. There's not a lot of options. There's not a lot of things you can do with them. They're not going to be out there killing things left and right like boys. And they're not going to be too resilient, even in cover. So that's it. That's it for my Grot video. And that is it for the Troops Choices. Thank you for watching this episode of Talking About Orks.